In this video I'm going to show you how I prevent the pipes in my house from freezing for less than a penny a day in electricity cost. Last night was a very cold night for New Jersey. It got down to about 2 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 17 Celsius, which is unusually cold, and there's always a danger that the pipes in your house could freeze. Last year I installed some heat cable on the pipes in my laundry room, and I figured I'd take a look and show you how it performed in such a cold night. This is the product that I have. It's by Frost King, and it's a heat cable minus 3 foot length. It looks something like this. The little black dot on the orange cable is the temperature sensor that determines when it should turn on and off. It's like a small thermostat. And you just plug it into an outlet and then wrap the black cable around your pipe. So this is what it looks like in my setup. The left side is actually a pipe going to outside, a garden hose spigot. It's shut off right now on the valve that you see, but that's probably the coldest part of my pipes. So I put the controller right there, taped it to it. And then just to the right, the silver sensor you see is a temperature sensor. And I added a temperature sensor because I wanted to see what the temperature is of the pipes and when the heat tape turns on and off. So that temperature sensor sits very close on the pipe to where the controller sits. And this is what it looks like where I wrap the pipe, the tape, the heat wire around with tape around my pipe. This is the last bit of the pipe. You can see I attached it here. And then what's important, of course, is that we keep the heat in the pipe and not just in the space. So we wrap some pipe wrap insulation around the pipe to prevent the heat from escaping and direct all the electricity from that heat wire to go into the pipe. And the way it looked in my setup is like this. After doing it, I wrapped some blue painter's tape around it because I didn't want the fiberglass fibers unprotected in the laundry room. But that's that setup. And then to take a look at the how it worked last night, let's take a look at the temperatures measured by that sensor that I added. So here you can see on the vertical axis the temperature in Fahrenheit and a horizontal axis from midnight last night to 9 a.m. this morning. And we see 6 of these very clear spikes. Where the temperature, when it drops below about 45 degrees, it quickly rises up and then turns off up here. And this is about 10 minutes. At 2 a.m. it first turned on, and about 2:10, 2:13, the temperature starts dropping again. And that happened 6 times throughout the night. And so that's what the temperatures look like, and we see it turned on a number of times. But now we want to see what actually the associated energy cost is of that. So let's take a look here at the energy results, and that's that power monitor that I showed you that the cord is plugged into, the cord from the heat tape, the heat wire. And we see the same 6 spikes here throughout the night. And we also see that the power consumption is here in watts. We see there's about a 2.5 watts continuous consumption. That's actually not the heat tape, because when I unplug the whole device itself, it still draws about 2.5 watts. That's just a kind of a noise level in the measurements. So we can subtract that from any power measurements, because that really should be 0. But then when we look at one of those spikes, we can zoom in a little bit here, and we can see that during that period, the power consumption is about 25 watts. The average here, actually, to be exact, is 24 watts. And we see a little oscillation here. I think that's the way the temperature controller in that heat wire is controlling turning the heat on and off. And so during that 10-minute cycle, we see we have an average consumption of 24 watts. Now we know that there was a baseline consumption of about 2.5 watts. So if we look at that, it actually compares pretty favorably with the manufacturer instructions, because so we calculate about 21.5 watts of power consumption. We have a 3-foot wire with 7 watts per foot. So that actually matches very closely the 21 to 22 watts of consumption. Now the big question is, of course, what is the consumption of how much electricity is that using during the night? So if we take a look at that, each of the cycles was less than 10 minutes, as we saw earlier. The consumption was about 21.3, to be exact, watts during that period. So that means there's about 3.5 watt hours of electricity consumed during each of those cycles. There were 6 of these events in the night, 6 of these cycles. So that results in about 21 watt hours. And then an electricity price currently in New Jersey of about 21 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's 1,000 watt hours. It results in an electricity cost of about 0.45 pennies, so less than half a penny. So I think it's a very efficient way of preventing the pipes from freezing. I didn't think it was going to be this low, 21 watt hours and less than half a penny, but it's great. If you ran this, if it was this cold every night and you ran this the whole time, it would be for, from November through December, it'd still be like 55 cents for the whole season. Your length of pipes that you want to protect might be longer than the 3-foot wire that I used. You can also buy it in 6 feet and 9 feet, and I think even 12 feet. And it will use a little bit more power. But I think it's a great way to keep your pipes from freezing with minimal electricity.